installed our super cool screen, which is working, by the way. We had a cat experiment. He wasn't able to get out, at least on day one. Since I've installed the super cool screen, now we've got like an unobstructed access to the inside of the door when the door is closed, right? And so that got me thinking, wouldn't it be cool if there was a window here? Because there is not. And previously there was a heavy screen, so a window wouldn't have done much good anyway. So that's what we're going to do today in this video. We are going to install a window in this door. Now, this door, you can see it's pretty thick, is a rather well-insulated door. And so I wanted a well-insulated window, which led me to a double pane window. And the only place I could find, and it doesn't have to open, I don't care if it opens, that would be weird in a door. So the only place I could find that made a double pane window for an RV that was of sufficient quality and whatnot was Motion Windows Peninsula Glass up in Washington State. So I've ordered one of their windows, it's here now, and we're gonna install it. Now, to install their window, I found videos of people installing them in like metal-bodied vans with like a really thin skin. I found videos of people installing replacement RV windows, you know, like where there was already a hole, but I couldn't find any instructional videos on how to install in like a traditionally constructed RV where you got to cut a hole from scratch in an RV that's like, you know, this thick, right? So we're going to kind of try to figure that out as we go. So let me take you over to the bench and I'll show you the window and we'll talk about how we're going to install it. So here she is. Here's the window. And ordering from Motion Windows Peninsula Glass was pretty easy. There's a form you fill out. One of the critical dimensions that you need is the actual thickness, like the exact thickness to within 1/16 of an inch of the wall you're going to be mounting it into. So I don't know if anybody noticed, but I've got a little peephole in the door of the RV. That's why I drilled the peephole, is because I needed to be able to get calipers in there to get exactly how thick that door is. It was 2 5/16 inches for anyone who knows. So you may have to do that if there's not already a hole where you're going to be installing the window. You'll need the exact thickness to order it because the thickness is a critical dimension. There's this trim ring that goes on the inside like that, and it's meant to sandwich and hold it in place like that. And so they need to know how thick is the surface you're going to be mounting into. So trim ring, window. They've also sent along some foam sealant tape, which will go on the underside of this when we get a hole cut, and some hard rubber like shim tape. I don't know how well that'll work because the interior of that door, I know from drilling the peephole, is like styrofoam, those little balls that are like the most static, clingy objects known to man that stick to everything. So that's another thing we're gonna have to deal with. So you get some shim tape, the screws obviously, and please do use their screws because otherwise you might screw through into the window. And then they give you a little sample of all the different layers and showing you how to basically install the window. And that's pretty much it. Now, the door, 2 5/16 inches thick. I would have loved to have taken the door off, put it on sawhorses, and then cut out a hole that way. Unfortunately, there's like some weird carbon fibery looking trim on the hinge side of the door, and I just had little confidence that I could get that off and then get it back on again. So we're going to be cutting that in place where it is. And so the entire interior of the RV, I'm sure, is going to be filled with little styrofoam static cling balls all over everywhere. I got some extra long jigsaw blades so that I could get plenty of stroke length through the door so that I'd be able to cut the door. So I've got some of those. And yeah, the very first thing we're going to do is I've got some cardboard here. We're going to make a template of the hole that we're going to need to cut out. And so that's step one. And then we're going to line up the template on the door and kind of mark out our cut. That's a whole lot of fussing, but that's the first thing we got to do. Okay. Okay, so I've got some metal bits in the door, like there's reinforcement kind of around. So I just kind of need to center this in the door and about yay high. So we're going to take some measurements and kind of tape it in place so that we can mark it, and then we'll come back after that. I got to remove this too. It's not letting my template sit flat, so I got to remove that peephole. Okay, so finally we've got a traced outline. If you've ever seen like a married couple try to hang a picture, well, like multiply that by like 5, and that's kind of what we've been doing for the past half hour because we get one shot at this, right? And after that, if we mess that up, then it's a long wait for a new door. So we've got the outline that I've traced here. Now I want to transfer this outline to the inside of the door. And the way I'm going to do that is, you know, there's a straight part and a curved part. And so right where the straight part meets the curved part at 8 points around there, I'm going to just drill straight through the door. And then I will set the template up and just connect those lines on the inside, and that should locate the template where it belongs. But the door is 2 5/16 inches thick, right? So I don't want to do that freehand. I'm going to see if I can't, I think I have like a drill attachment that will make sure I drill a perpendicular hole through the door so that, you know, my holes don't wander in, because it's just styrofoam inside this door. So anyway, that's what we're going to do next. Yeah, so this isn't hokey looking at all. So here's how I'm going to try this. I'm going to, so this is the way it works, right? It's like a portable drill press. So what you do is you get the drill bit where you want it. Yeah, I'm more than a little nervous about this, but here we go. Okay. Yeah, I can see through to the inside. So there we go. Okay. 7 more of those. That was substantially less drama than I was anticipating. I guess this thing works. Cool, now to go mark it on the inside. Okay, so here's the trick for minimizing the mess inside the RV. I'm gonna tape up this drum liner bag and hopefully cover the opening. It's bigger than the opening, so it should, I may chew it up a little though with the saw blade coming through. Well, we'll see how it goes. Okay, I don't know if this will catch all the debris or even any of it, but I'm pretty sure I at least haven't made things worse, and it may work, so I guess we'll see. All right, but now we have to go out the front door. Yeah. Now we've reached the big boy part of the project where I actually have to cut into the door with a jigsaw while standing on a ladder. Since I get one shot at this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a practice cut, like starting at this peephole and then just cutting away a bit to make sure I've got appropriate technique and whatnot, and that I'm not going to like just chip the door. I'm also going to put some tape, I guess, around the outside to kind of hold down the chipping as well. Maybe I'll do that first. I'm just looking for anything that I think could go wrong, and so that's what I'm going to do. More tape around here, and then we're going to try some practice cuts out of this hole. All right. I don't think I'm going to have any problem with that. That came out fairly nice. Looks like it went all the way through. We're going to be okay. You can see why I was maybe a little concerned about the mess on the inside of the RV there. Yeah. Trip to the car wash maybe, I don't know. All right, I guess there's no point in delaying this any further. We're just going to go for it. So I'm putting some tape on the sides here. This is something I saw in one of the videos. I kind of started here and went around like this, leaving a bit here and a bit here that I still have to cut. So I'm putting tape here so that this thing won't just come like crashing out of there when I finish cutting. It'll come out in a sort of controlled way, I hope. I guess we'll see. Well, it's done now. Here's Johnny. Woo! I got some cleanup to do. All right, so I kind of can't believe that worked. Nothing broke. So now we're going to do just a quick test fit to see if I'm going to need any shims or if I need to trim around the edges anymore or anything like that. Bam. Wow. Maybe I could shim the bottom a little bit. There's like maybe 1/8 of an inch of play top to bottom and about that much left to right, but that's what it's going to look like. What do you think? Pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, I used some of this trim material or shim material that they provided. It's kind of like a dense rubber. And I put it in the bottom of the window to try to take up some of that vertical play. So we'll see how this does for us. Much less vertical play. I think we're looking pretty good. Denatured alcohol. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this sealing gasket onto the window, and we're going to start at the center of the bottom and try to do one continuous loop all the way around so we don't get any gaps in it. But first, to make sure it sticks good, I'm going to clean this off with denatured alcohol as well. So let me get to that. Now, one of the things they said is to, when you're putting this stuff down, keep the paper on while you're laying it down on the straight parts, because that helps, you keep it aligned. But then the paper is stiff, and so to get the gasket around the corner, you should peel the backing away, and then you can fairly nicely guide the gasket around the corner. And that trick actually works. So yes, they know what they're talking about. And then they also said to overlap all the various tutorials I saw, to overlap this tape at the bottom by like 1/2 inch. So there we go. Ta-da. Okay, next thing, this is kind of weirdly counterintuitive, but they want you to spray the gasket with light mist of water. And the reason for doing that is to keep it from sticking before you've got it where you want it. Now, I've shimmed it up in there so that we don't have a whole lot of play in this window, but I'm going to do that anyway, just in case. All right. Four. All right, before I stick it down, Steph, do you have any objections to it being right where it is? Okay, here we go. All right. Well, now I guess I go inside and put on the trim ring. But in order to do that, Steph's gonna have to stay out here and hold this window. This is really a two-person job. She's gonna have to stay out here and hold this in place while I screw it in from the inside. So you don't get any video for a while. All right, that is sort of the install. So there's a bit of a gap between the interior trim. I mean, there's enough screw length that it's grabbing and pulling it tight. I'm okay with that. But there's a bit of a gap between the trim ring and the interior surface of the window, maybe like 1/8 of an inch or so. I may try to get some weather stripping or something and tuck it up in there just to neaten that gap up. But window, what do you think? Steph, you're here. What do you think?
I love it. It's great. It makes it a lot brighter in here.
Window. Now I gotta make shade That's next. And there you have it. A couple final thoughts on this. This only really makes sense, especially in an Echo, if you get rid of that interior screen door, because that mesh was so thick and tough to see through that with the door closed, the screen door has to be closed. You wouldn't really see much. There wouldn't be much point in having that window there. But without the window, without the screen door, with our drapey screen now, this makes a lot more sense. There are a couple other things like potential gotchas and stuff that we didn't catch on camera. The first being that I took great care to drill perpendicularly through the door, and so that the holes came through straight. That worked fine. But what didn't go perpendicularly through the door was the jigsaw blade, especially trying to go around the corners. It would, because it's a long blade, it would deflect a bit. Fortunately, it deflected to make the hole smaller as opposed to making it bigger, because smaller, I could just go back and cut more of it out. And that's what I had to do with that. I had to do that by hand. Kind of a pain. And I guess that's really the two big things. I kind of dig the window, and I guess we'll see how it holds up over time, but so far so good, right? I guess take it on the road next. That's gonna do it for now. See you later. Bye.